If anyone looks at the morality and the ethics of something like creating sterile seeds, mass producing sterile seeds, to what end? What end? To enrich a few companies.
You have a seed dictatorship established. Then the farmer can't get out.
Benih merupakan bagian paling mendasar dari sebuah usaha pertanian. Dari situlah siklus kehidupan tanaman akan dimulai. Tak akan ada pertanian jika tak ada benih. Kelayakan hidup seorang petani awalnya sangat bergantung kepada bagaimana dia mampu mengembangkan, memilih, dan menghasilkan benih yang baik. Namun, seluruh paradigma itu telah berubah sejak pertanian mulai memasuki era industrialisasi, di mana saat itulah dimulai sebuah mekanisme pertanian yang baru yang meletakkan dasar hukum dan ekonomi untuk memprivatisasi benih. Hal ini kemudian menghancurkan keragaman, menghilangkan hak petani untuk berinovasi, dan menciptakan monopoli atas benih. Dan kini, benih yang kita tanam, tanaman yang kita pelihara, dan makanan yang dihasilkan untuk kita makan, semuanya berada dalam satu lingkaran kendali yang sama.
It dates back to the beginning of the 20th century, because at that time seeds were still in the hands of farmers. It was farmers who were leading all the innovation with seeds, who were developing, adapting, selecting for mostly the local food needs, because we had local food systems at that time. But at the beginning of the 20th century, you had a move on the part of the Canadian state and business to try to develop a national agribusiness.
Industrialisasi pertanian ini kemudian mengganti seluruh cara kita bertani, merubah makanan yang kita makan, dan bagaimana kita menumbuhkan makanan tersebut. Jalur pengolahan makanan yang baru menginginkan ukuran dan rasa yang seragam. Mekanisasi merupakan perubahan paling signifikan selama ribuan tahun sejarah dunia pertanian. Tanaman lama digantikan dengan tanaman baru dan kelimpahan baru. Tapi ada harga yang harus dibayar untuk semua itu.
If you look at the last century, the first thing that happened was farmers were sold energy, power, get rid of the horses, get the tractor, a positive step perhaps. But then the next thing it was fertility, chemical fertilizers in the wake of World War II.
Dan bukan hanya pupuk sintetis yang datang pasca Perang Dunia Kedua, tapi juga bersama dengan pestisida.
This is the vicious cycle of industrial agriculture. And that cycle was developed as a result of war. The roots of industrial agriculture go back to a German scientist named Fritz Haber. Haber invented a process for making synthetic nitrogen fertilizer that increased food production. His other scientific breakthrough was the creation of poisons known as pesticides. When the war ended, U.S. chemical companies brought Haber's poisons back to America and rebranded his toxic chemicals as pesticides for American farms.
Dow set out to demonstrate the effectiveness of its chemical killers on a nationwide scale.
When the war ended, all the energy that went into fighting the enemies in the world went into fighting the enemies on the farm.
All of a sudden, chemical fertilizer, nitrogen was available, and farmers could toss that on a field. Even if they hadn't taken care of their soil, they could get a good crop for a while.
Everything would have been
basically organic up until the advent of the post-World War II chemicals, leftover fuel for bombs, for ammunition, all those kind of things, and the scientific labs that were, I guess, initially working towards this idea that we can probably tweak a lot of things with science. This is crazy. We can't be using stuff that was meant in maybe in a warfare situation to be using this to produce food.
Ya, memang agak gila. Hasil panen meningkat dengan bantuan bahan kimia yang dulu digunakan sebagai bahan perang. Tapi, petani harus membelinya setiap musim tanam, sebuah perubahan besar dari cara terdahulu. Lalu, apa selanjutnya?
And then the next thing that had to be replaced was farmers' self-supply of seed, and that was turned into something that you sell to farmers. And it wasn't immediately clear how they were going to do that with seeds, because farmers can really supply that well and very efficiently for themselves. But what the industry did was they started to set up a whole bunch of impediments and roadblocks to just make it harder and harder and really drive the farmers increasingly into the arms of the people that want to sell them seeds.
Selama ribuan tahun, para petani membudidayakan tanaman dan menyimpan benih mereka sendiri. Bagaimana bisa metode pertanian yang sudah digunakan selama itu bisa berubah dengan sangat drastis? Dan bagaimana mungkin para petani kehilangan hak mereka atas benih?
The companies began by telling us in the 1970s, we'll never interfere with the farmer's right to be able to save and exchange seed. That's an inalienable right of the farmer. By the 1980s, they were saying the farmer's privilege to be able to save and exchange seed. By the 1990s, they were saying farmers are pirating our seeds if they save and exchange them. And now, in country after country, they're saying this is illegal, they have to be stopped, and even talking about criminal liability if farmers steal their seeds.
When agricultural production is totally controlled from the seed to the plate, that control is going to result in really huge profits for somebody, and it's not going to be the guy sitting down for dinner, and it's not going to be the farmer.
Dengan menciptakan benih yang sangat bergantung pada pestisida dan pupuk sintetis, perusahaan-perusahaan ini sudah mendapatkan keuntungan yang tiada tara. Selama 20 tahun terakhir saja, penjualan bahan kimia sintetis dan benih untuk pertanian sudah meningkat lebih dari 3 kali lipat.
Pesticide companies saw the opportunity to take over the seed business and saw the value for them to control both pesticides and seeds together. So they moved aggressively in to take over the industry. In, let's say, the late 1970s, mid to late 1970s, there were probably around the world around 7,000 different seed sources, both public and private companies that were marketing seeds to farmers. We've now moved from that to where 10 years ago we had the top 10 seed companies on the planet controlling between 25 and 30% of the commercial seed market. And today, the top 10 companies control about 55% of the global commercial seed market. And within a few years, it'll probably be down to 7 or 8 companies controlling 70 or 80% of the global seed market.
Sadar atau tidak, kita sudah menyerahkan seluruh kedaulatan sistem pangan dan pertanian pada sekelompok kecil orang yang mengendalikan sektor ini dengan sangat terstruktur, sistematis, dan masif. Sehingga mereka mendapatkan keuntungan yang sangat besar dari hasil mencuri dan merampas hak para petani.
They're stealing the heritage of mankind, and they're selling it back to us for a hell of a profit. And there's so much wealth to be generated that there's no holds barred. I mean, we're in a real battle here now around the world for control of seeds, for that fundamental of agriculture and life.
What we've learned with biotechnology is that you don't have to do good science, and certainly you don't have to do good technology in order to make lots of money, to make a real big profit.
If anyone looks at the morality and the ethics of something like creating sterile seeds, mass producing sterile seeds, to what end? What end? To enrich a few companies, nothing else. It has nothing to do with food safety, food security.
Now, corporations will say, well, we work according to the market, but if you actually look at the research they're doing in seeds, most of it is directed at making seeds sterile, so developing hybrid crops, developing genetically engineered crops that farmers cannot save seed from year to year.
Luar biasa. Dan hal seperti ini masih banyak orang, khususnya para petani, tidak menyadarinya. Lalu, untuk memahami lebih jauh tentang monopoli benih ini, berikut ada cuplikan video yang dijelaskan dengan sangat baik oleh Dr. Vanda Nasifa, seorang wanita yang dikenal karena keberaniannya menentang, melawan, dan membongkar kezoliman para elit pertanian, khususnya di negara India.
When seed started to become a patented property sold by corporations, you destroy seed freedom. When a company as powerful as Monsanto enters a country, it starts to control that country's decision making. Monsanto started to buy up Indian seed companies. 60 Indian seed companies can only sell Monsanto seeds. The companies will take video vans into the villages. They had every Indian epic, and they would very cleverly sell the seeds. So Hanuman is carrying white gold, the seeds of Monsanto. So when Hanuman comes as a salesman of Monsanto, they believe in them. So that was the first strand through which they took over. Then they also told the farmer, why are you using these old seeds? Sell them to us. A farmer has always had seed. And a farmer would say, oh, they're giving me some money for the seed. I'll just get it from my neighbor tomorrow. Not realizing the neighbor has also been approached in the same way, and the next village, and the next village. In one season, this thing they call seed replacement has destroyed the entire native seed supply. You have a seed dictatorship established. Then the farmer can't get out. Farmers will be forced to come back to buy seed every year. What this free trade system has given us is, instead of seed being of the farmers, by the farmers, for the farmers and all citizens, it is now seed for the corporations, by the corporations, of the corporations.
Ini adalah sebuah pengetahuan yang tak diajarkan di sekolah, apalagi kepada para petani. Selama ini, kita berpikir bahwa sistem pertanian yang ada sekarang memang dibuat karena kebutuhan dari para petani itu sendiri. Namun, sebenarnya ini adalah sebuah sistem yang memang sengaja diciptakan untuk kepentingan sekelompok kecil orang. Dan saya tegaskan bahwa ini bukan tentang pintar atau bodoh, dan juga bukan tentang kaya atau miskin, tapi tentang sistem, yaitu sebuah sistem yang dengan sengaja diciptakan untuk menguntungkan pihak-pihak tertentu dan merugikan para petani di seluruh dunia. Sekian video kali ini, semoga bermanfaat. Silahkan like video ini jika kalian sudah sampai di sini, karena itu akan membantu video ini untuk menjangkau lebih banyak orang. Terima kasih.